out of control, the BC Human Rights Tribunal, but there's a crazy case from Alberta that we've done stories about. It's the case of a male babysitter who demands the right to babysit your kids. Let me read a paragraph from an essay, and then I'll introduce a man who's doing something about it. You know the story, but let me refresh your memory. Todd is a single father with 2 sons who were ages 5 and 8 at the time. On August 31st, 2017, Todd posted an ad on Kijiji looking for a babysitter for an evening. One of those who responded to the ad was the complainant, James Cyrynowski. Todd replied to Mr. Cyrynowski asking some basic questions about Mr. Cyrynowski, including what town he lived in, what his age was, and whether he was male or female. Mr. Cyrynowski answered these questions. However, Todd's evening plans fell through, and so he canceled the plans to hire a sitter. Todd didn't contact Cyrynowski further. Mr. Cyrynowski did not follow up with Todd either, but get this, here's the crazy story. Rather than follow up with Todd, Mr. Cyrynowski filed a human rights complaint against Todd the very next day, alleging discrimination on the basis of age and gender in violation of Section 8 of the Alberta Human Rights Act. I'm reading from a commentary on the subject by our friend John Carpay of the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms, who is defending Todd, the single dad. And John Carpay joins us in studio now. John, great to see you.
Good to see you, Ezra.
We have covered this story. We sent reporters trying to find Mr. Cyrynowski, a grown man who thinks he has the human right to babysit your kids, whether or not you want. Like, I got to tell you, John, I'm not averse to the idea of a male babysitter. It's unusual, but I don't think it's wrong. It might be wrong for someone, might be right for someone.
Well, Todd, in fact, is not adverse to male babysitters. The reason Todd didn't get back to James Cyrynowski is because Todd's plans fell through, and he had some email exchanges with other prospective babysitters. And, you know, you could argue it's rude, but, you know, in real life, you might have 5 or 6 conversations. You don't get back to all 6 people to say, no thanks, no thanks, no thanks. It's kind of, the conversation trickles down, and that means it's a no.
Yeah. Well, but here's the thing. As soon as someone says, I'm so interested in babysitting your kids, I am going to go to the Human Rights Commission, and if that fails, I will appeal to a higher court, and if that fails, I'll appeal to I will have access to your kids. And all of a sudden, something that's a little quirky, okay, male babysitter, grown man babysitter, it's a little unusual, but it could be okay, all of a sudden becomes very dark when he says, I demand! Like, and he didn't shout it, he did worse than shouting. He went to the Human Rights Commission saying he had the human right.
But he's not the culprit. It's the legislation that allows that. In the same way that
he's the weirdo. I'm sorry, I'm going to say the word weirdo. I know you're not going to say that because you're a proper lawyer. But he's a weirdo.
He's taking advantage of something that's in place.
Same with Jonathan Yaniv in Vancouver.
Exactly. So, you know, it's fine. We can be critical. He's probably upset over the fact that most parents want a female babysitter, right?
Yeah, if he's upset about that,
that's reality.
Fight the world, fight human nature.
But, you know, this is the problem with the human rights legislation. It needs to be amended because it's gone from a freedom from, when they talked about human rights in 1945, after the war, after the Holocaust, after everything, the human right was my right to practice my religion, my right to speak, my right to own and enjoy property, my right to educate my children as I see best, not as the government or some political activists. Those were the human rights, were those kind of fundamental freedoms. But now it's been twisted into a claim against other people. So I have a human right, or a person has a human right to have male genitalia waxed by women and to force the women to do that, or a human right to compel parents that want a female babysitter to have to hire a male babysitter. This is the shift. Yeah. And so the problem is the legislation, more so than I would say a Yaniv or a Cyrynowski or anybody else.
That's an excerpt from the Ezra Levant Show, which is a show I do every day. I do a monologue, interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. But you've got to subscribe to it, which you can do at premium.rebelnews.com.